Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1498A, and today's date is February 14th, 2018, and the title of the episode is The Great Economic Rotation Begins. It's all happening at an accelerated pace. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we're starting to see retail really start to implode on itself. JcPenny right now, they're becoming about 670 jobs closing distribution centers. We also see retail sales in January. Now, they thought they were going to see this incredible 0.3% increase in retail sales, but retail sales in January dropped dramatically by negative 0.2%. And when we look at this, we can see that this is a complete and utter disaster. Now, when we look at the breakdown of the different sectors within retail, the kinds of businesses, we can see how bad it really is. Furniture and home furnishing is down negative 0.4%. Motor vehicle down negative 1.3%. Retail and food services down negative 0.3%. Building material, garden supplies down negative 2.4%. Health and personal care stores down negative 1.2%. Sporting goods, hobbies down negative 0.8%. And we can see right now that the retail industry is really struggling. And this is because the people are tapped out. Their credit cards are at the highest we've seen, higher than 2008 right now when we had that financial crisis, which really never ended. Actually, we're in a recession right now, but because of all the manipulation, the figures from the corporate media, from the government, from everywhere else can make you believe that everything is fine. Now, they did this back in 2008. Everyone believed that everything was great. People were still purchasing homes. People were still speculating. And then behind the scenes, corporations needed major bailouts. Things were tumbling. People were leaving their homes. Rates were rising. Applications were falling. The whole thing was a complete and utter disaster. That is what is happening right now. We never left the recession. They created an illusion to make you think we've left the recession. And since that time, the economy, the real people's economy, has been deteriorating rapidly. And it's getting worse as time goes on. It doesn't matter what the stock market does. If it goes up or down, it makes no difference whatsoever. Because that is not how the economy is doing. It makes people believe, that this is the economy. People look at the stock market and they think, oh, well, that's the economy. It isn't the economy. But when it comes down, that is the last signal that the economy completely fell apart. And those people who aren't in the stock market, they say, well, it doesn't affect me because I didn't have any investments in the market, so it makes no difference to me. But if you're working for a corporation that has shareholders, guess what? They're going to start laying off people. They're going to start cutting back, and it will affect almost every single person. We see mortgage applications. Well, they're tumbling. Why? Because the average 30-year mortgage rate is rising, and we're starting to see mortgage applications. They are imploding on themselves. People are being thrown out of the housing market, and as the rates continually move up, there's going to be more and more individuals thrown out of the market. This is what happened prior to 2008 as rates kept moving up, adjustable rate mortgages, the 30-year mortgage. People just couldn't afford the homes. It threw them out of the market. The same thing is happening right now. Now, if everything is absolutely perfect and the housing market is booming, and they're telling us that businesses are doing fantastic. They're saying retail, it's doing fantastic, just everything's moving to online. Why then does Fannie Mae, why do they need a taxpayer bailout again? Yes, you heard that right. Fannie Mae incurred a net loss of $6.5 billion in the final quarter of 2017 and announced today it needs a taxpayer bailout. Now, they're saying they're looking for $3.7 billion of taxpayer money. And here we go once again. Now, if we go back in time, well, it looks like there were agreements that were made during the 2008 housing crisis. What happened back then, Fannie Mae can only operate on limited capital stores, which is why it cannot pay for the loss on its own. So what they're looking for is the taxpayers to bail them out once again. And if everything is fantastic and the housing market is doing incredibly well and everything is great in the country, we're in this incredible recovery, the economy's doing great, why are we starting to see bailouts again? Because the whole thing is a complete and utter lie. Everything is manipulated. Yes, people are going to say, no, it's not manipulated. Yes, precious metals, LIBOR, the stock market, GDP, unemployment, all manipulated. And now a whistleblower is coming forward. This whistleblower sent a letter to his lawyer, to the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC, charging that traders were manipulating the stock market volatility index known as the VIX. The whistleblower said that a flaw exists in the VIX that allows trading firms with sophisticated algorithms to move the VIX up or down by simply posting quotes on S&P options and without needing to physically engage in any trading or deploying any capital. So here we go once again, where we're seeing precious metals, the LIBOR, GDP, unemployment, the VIX. We know the central banks are pumping in money into the stock market. We have other central banks like the Swiss National Bank buying up stocks. We know the banks are taking their funds and putting it into the stock market. We understand there are 20 cities where the Fed is giving free money to hedge funds, investment companies to purchase homes. Don't sell them, keep them off the market, rent them if you can. But we see all this happening. The whole thing is one gigantic manipulation. We see U.S. Treasury yields, well, they entered the death zone. Remember when they said, if they hit, 2.65%, well, we're up to 2.9%. And it looks like this is the death zone for stocks in the last 2 weeks. And don't worry, it's all different this time. It's not going to make a difference. Well, it is going to make a difference because things are rapidly breaking down. Now, what's very interesting, a couple reports ago, we mentioned how Arizona is passing a law allowing individuals to pay their taxes with cryptocurrency. And I said what's going to happen is more and more states are going to come forth and they're going to pass bills allowing people to use cryptocurrency to pay for things. And then corporations, they're going to allow people to pay for products, merchandise with cryptocurrencies. Employers are going to are going to start paying people in cryptocurrencies. And this is going to spread not just here in the United States, but around the world. We already see governments like Russia, like Venezuela, they're creating their own cryptocurrencies. And we're going to see a lot of others creating them where you can trade them on the open market. And what we're seeing is that the central banks, they are very, very nervous about this. This is why the New York Fed and their economists came out and they told us that, this is a Ponzi scheme. Criminals use it. This is why the Bank of International Settlements and the IMF and Mnuchin came out all saying that, this needs to be regulated. Criminals use it and this will never replace the fiat currency. But what's very interesting is that Colorado and Wyoming have all recently taken legislation action that seeks to further support for cryptocurrency. In Colorado, a bill was introduced in the Senate proposing the use of blockchain for governmental data security. Senate Bill 86 seeks to use the blockchain ledger feature for its ability to securely record transactions. The bill aims to control functionality, track transactions, verify identity, support uniformity, resist tampering, enable logistical control, etc. We also see Wyoming. They have introduced two bills, House Bill 19 and 70, that would limit regulatory control over cryptocurrency trading. And we can see this is just beginning. Because eventually what is going to happen, more and more states are going to pass these bills. They're going to say, yes, we want people using cryptocurrency. And this is going to spread. This is the beginning stages of taking the power away from the central banks. Now, Russia is out there, and they're saying that our banks are ready to turn off the SWIFT system. If you remember back, they started to develop their own private payment system. China has done the same thing, and it is fully developed now. And they're saying that we are ready to disconnect Russia from the SWIFT system, and we'll be able to survive. What that really means is that they don't need the Western world anymore. China, Russia, they can disconnect from the Western world and they can still do business. Now, what they're saying is that if the U.S. and Europe decide to threaten to disconnect Russia from SWIFT, there'll be no problem. Because as we can see, they're using Russia, they're pushing the agenda that Russia is an evil enemy, and they're pushing the idea that Russia is hacking everyone. And they're pushing their agenda across the globe. What is happening right now is Russia and China, they have completely become independent. They can disconnect from the current system and bring their systems online, where everyone on the One Belt, One Road, which is like 70-something countries, they can use their system. Countries around the world who start to use their system, they'll be able to transact not using the dollar, not using anything here in the Western world. What we're seeing is a great rotation. We're seeing the rotation into cryptocurrency. We're seeing the rotation away from the Western powers, and it is accelerating very, very quickly right now. Before we saw development, we saw that they were trying to do this, but now we see that China has the petro yuan, it has their trading systems, their payment systems is operational, cryptocurrencies are moving very, very quickly. States are adopting laws right now. Countries are adopting laws, creating their own cryptocurrencies. And pretty soon, they're going to make announcements where they don't need the central banks to create their currencies anymore. Now, the central banks, they're going to do whatever they possibly can to stop all this because they don't want this to happen. And this is where we have the battle between the central bank currency system and the people's currency system. And there is going to be a battle, and we're going to have to see how this all plays out, because no matter which way we look at this, we're going through this transition. It's either going to be a very hard, horrific transition through the central bank, because they don't care how many people get hurt. They don't care what happens as long as they get their wealth. Or we're going to have a soft transition where they're going to try to make it as easy as possible for people to go into this new system. This is where we're at right now. So no matter what, you need to be prepared and ready, because I'm going to tell you right now, the central banks, they've been around for not just hundreds, but thousands of years, where they have taken over governments. They've, gone away, they've come back, but they've been around for a very long time. And they're not going to just, say, hey, we're done here. Thank you very much. It's been a fun ride. No, they're going to fight to the very end to keep their system intact. They don't want to lose control. That's all they have right now. And we can see right now they're pushing their agenda, and we can see that the people, well, they don't want to use the central banks anymore. They want their own currencies, what they can control. And we're going to see this battle play out right in front of us. But no matter what, you need to be prepared, because we're going to be going through this transition. It's going to be very difficult and hard, or not so much, but you're still going to have a period of time where you might not be able to get supplies, where you might not be able to get food, where you might see incredible inflation, because as the dollar dies and the new currency system comes online, it just doesn't happen with the snap of a finger. It takes a little while for this to happen. Russia saw this, and many other countries have seen this before when you move to a different currency. And remember, we've been the reserve currency for a very long time, and soon the United States most likely will not be the reserve currency, and trade and everything else is going to change. So no matter what, you need to be ready and prepared for what is coming. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.